with most Annabelle, as always. So we're doing another review. Obviously, we're doing another review. Obviously. At some point, I will give you guys more recommendations for your horror binge extravaganza yourselves. But hey, why not at least talk about a couple of movies I've been watching? Give you some recommendations through this. I'm just saying. But what we're talking about next is the 1980s classic Prom Night with Ms. Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen. So this one is obviously came out after Halloween, before Halloween 2. I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe this was right before The Fog, I think, because I know a couple of those movies were like so close together with Jamie Lee Curtis. But anyway, so obviously this was after Halloween, as I was just saying, kind of solidifying Jamie Lee Curtis's place as a scream queen and everything. This is a terrific little movie. I love it. I feel like this is one of those movies, and I was gonna think about this as I was watching this last night or a couple nights ago. That, you know, I feel like kids these days, when seeing something like this, might think like, oh my god, that's such a dumb movie, it's so cheap, it's so low budget. Very much so kind of like, I guess the equivalent of a lot of the lower budget movies that are coming out today, where I think a lot of us older fans of horror are kind of like, oh, it's so low budget, it's so cheap, blah, blah, blah. I feel like a lot of kids might not appreciate it, and I mean, like, younger kids, not all, but I feel, and I could totally be wrong on this too, but I feel like some kids today might feel like Prom Night is like, oh, it's so stupid, it sucks, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing though, because this actually really did come out at a time when, obviously, right in the middle of, you know, the whole horror cash cow. I mean, every week there's like a few movies coming out and everything. So a lot of them were really low budget and everything. A lot of them were just, you know, and I'll even say too, a lot of the movies, like even this, yeah, you know, really isn't the greatest, but I love it. I really love this movie, but I think why did, you know, like this movie and so many other movies that of its likeness during that time really were kind of like the foundation for a lot of us growing up and, you know, trudging our butts to the video store. Yes, the video store. And I'm not talking about like that one lonely Blockbuster out in Boo-Foo, Boise, Idaho, or wherever. I don't even know. You know, not even necessarily Blockbuster. I know a lot of people frequented Blockbuster, but my fondest memories were going to like the little mom and pop shops and everything. And this was always on every single shelf, along with a few others. But you know, it really helped us to kind of, you know, like I said, our foundation, our education of horror movies, and just like, you know, this was way before the internet, so like we didn't know like what was good and what wasn't. We had to discover it for ourselves. So this one, you know, is one of those movies, like I said, it's really not like the greatest. It's like a very watered down, trying to cash in on this horror phenomenon and everything, but it's still pretty decent. I mean, there's worse movies out there that were made back then, but you know, it does, you know, it does have like a special place for a lot of us, because like I said, it really kind of, you know, it was one of those movies for a lot of us that were one of our first horror movies, especially with Jamie Lee Curtis, because, you know, if we saw Halloween and then saw that she was in other horror movies, you know, yeah, we would watch them. This, Terror Train, The Fog, you know, all that stuff. So, but no, this movie itself, so basically it's another one of those, like, revenge type movies, sort of like Amusement that I reviewed, but this one I feel like is much better. It executes it a little bit better, and this is the thing, too, there's a lot of those, like, sort of revenge type of movies back then, even, like, Terror Train. Literally, Terror Train is Prom Night's, just without the prom. It's basically graduation, adventure, trip, whatever. But I mean, I'm not saying that to like knock either movie. I'm really not. But you guys know what I'm saying. Like a lot of those movies from the 80s, that standard storyline was like someone got bullied, picked on, killed, whatnot. Someone else who was involved or closely attached to that character or that character themselves comes back to go ahead and take revenge on obviously the people who were part of that and caused the damage, whatnot. And we come to find out, because here's what happens. Beginning of the film, young kids, group of kids coming home from school, from elementary school. A couple of the kids are like, hey, let's go to this house, blah, blah, blah. And the one girl, who is a twin, her and her brother are walking, and, you know, she kind of wants to go be with these kids, you know, she wants to be part of the group and whatnot. And, you know, her brother, of course, is like, no, don't go, you know, trying to kind of watch out for, like, you know, no, they don't want you in your group, it's a setup, like, it's, like, no, come on, let's go. She goes in, and what do you know, kids play a trick on her, and she ends up falling out a window, dying and everything. Fast forward to about 6 years later, prom time's coming and everything, and Jamie Lee Curtis, who's like a year older than what the twins were, we see how she's kind of like dealing with that. She even kind of says like, oh my gosh, if she was still here, this year would be her first prom, like, oh my gosh, like, like all this stuff. And then the brother, the twin, who obviously we can kind of tell still a little bit like emotionally damaged, rightfully so. You know, because I mean, you lose a sister, especially that young, and you're going through all this without your twin or your sibling, like, you know, it's gonna do some damage. So, but long story short, you know, all this stuff kind of starts happening and everything. We then kind of realize that, like, all these kids that are getting killed are those kids who were part of that original group, who kind of accidentally killed that girl who they were just trying to kind of scare and make fun of. And what do you know? Guess who is the one who is doing this? Not the creepy janitor, not the creepy perverted janitor, the red herring, the obvious red herring, but not the one. That's the other thing too. They got this janitor, as I was saying, who is so like creepy and everything that you're like, oh my god, yeah, he probably is the one, but it's like, it's so kind of obvious that you know he's not the one. This movie's kind of very predictable on who the killer is, but it's still fun. And spoiler alert, obviously, way far into it. Obviously, the killer is the twin brother, you know, because like I said, he's obviously still damaged, still missing her and everything, still very upset at the fact that these kids did this prank to his sister and everything, and she's no longer here. But no, this is actually a fun one. Like I said, it's, you know, by today's standards, by some of the younger crowd, might not have as much of an appreciation for Prom Night, but you know what? We all had to, we weren't as spoiled as you guys are today with all these streaming services. We had to kind of, you know, find this stuff on our own, so thank you, Prom Night, for being a part of my foundation of horror. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you think about the original Prom Night, and I'll go even further. Which do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer the original Prom Night or the remake? I know I prefer the OG. That's just me. If you like the remake, props to you. Till next time, you guys, as always, stay creepy, classy, and a little bit sassy.